How's it going, guys? John here from the Kilobits, and today, well, this is something a bit different from usual. I figured I'd do something of a performance test on Absolver. Now, admittedly, this is a preview build. Obviously, the full game doesn't come out until next week, and there have been some mentions that this preview build does have bugs in, specifically capping the frame rate. But that has been a big question floating around on the forums, and I've even had people ask me on stream about the performance and specifically the frame rate, because the devs have said that the game will run at 60 FPS on PC and it's going to run at 30 FPS on PS4, but people are always wondering, well, what is the maximum frame rate, especially in a fighting game like this? So I figured I'd do a few little tests and show you what my performance is in this preview build. I probably will do one on the full release once it gets its kind of day one patch and things like that. So as a baseline, my rig at the moment is running a i7 6850K, running at the default factory settings of 3.6 gigahertz, so no overclocking. I've got 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM in there. I've got a Zotac GTX 1070, and the whole game is running off a Samsung 750 EVO SSD. So that's your baseline. Obviously, my rig, while pretty chunky, is not bleeding edge. So this should give you some sort of baseline. And the actual graphic settings, well, the game is running on the Unreal Engine 4. So I have got it cranked up to ultra on all the settings, and I normally play at 1440p if I'm just playing the game or, recording. But if I'm streaming, I will play it at 1080p, normally windowed. So I am going to show you what it's like at 1440p, 1080p, even 720p, and you will see, yes, the frame rate is currently capped, because it's very clear. I will also chuck in at the end some close to 4K footage. Obviously, my system isn't set up to run 4K very well, and you will see that when it's straining the graphics card. But it's not quite 4K. I think it's like 3600 something. It's not, 3840. But you will get a general idea of what the difference is between 1440p and 4K. So first off, heading to the Hunter's Path, I've just got a couple of sections of the Hunter's Path and some of the Central Harbour as well. So here we are in the Hunting Path, and this is the 1440p footage, and as you can see, it is running at a solid 60 FPS, and it's somewhere between 70 and 80% of the usage on the graphics card. Temperature doesn't spike over 70 really, and it is pretty rock solid at 1440p. This is remembering that it is running on Unreal 4, and normally, even on my rig, I normally have to tweak a lot of stuff when it's an Unreal 4 engine game. But I think Absolver has the advantage of, whilst it's quite pretty to look at, it's not exactly intensive, because we've got kind of lots of, not so much flat textures, but it's quite soft textures. It's not kind of high fidelity realism in the character models and the assets and things like that. So they can get away with slightly flatter textures, slightly lower poly counts, essentially a simpler graphic style, but still creating this kind of very gorgeous look. And it is helping the frame rate, clearly. We are at, as I say, somewhere between 70 and 80% on the graphics card at 1440p. So moving on to 1080, and you can see, again, it is still a rock solid 60, so there is no difference. It's not gone up, and we're only at about 50% of the graphics card usage. And again, like I said, the advantage is the game is creating a very stylistic look with, a smaller number of polys and softer textures. Let's just say that. But I still dig the look. I've not had any major issues with, popping or anything like that. There are a few stutters when you initially load in, but going between the different areas, I've not seen any particular frame drops when they're kind of loading in the new area or anything like that. And it is staying at a pretty solid 60 throughout. And even when we drop down to 720, we can see, well, I'm only using like 35% of the GPU's capacity, and it's not boosting the frame rate at all. But it's going to be one of those things, you want a solid frame rate with a fighting game, and you're definitely going to get that. Obviously, some people will purposely lower graphical settings to gain frames, and supposedly in the full release version they will take out whatever the bug is that's, you know, capping the frame rate, supposedly. As I said, I will check it out when the game gets its day one patch, and I will let you guys know if you are interested. But currently, yes, the game is capped at 60 FPS, but hopefully we will see higher frame rate as the game comes out. And I did promise I would show you a couple of areas, so here we are in the central harbour. Once again, this is 1440p footage, so you can see the difference. Once again, we are somewhere between 70 and 80%, maybe spiking around 85 of the GPU, but the temperature isn't getting excessively high, and we're not getting, you know, massive frame drops. I mean, we may drop like 0.3 of a frame. It's certainly hanging around that 60 frames, but it's not getting any higher, and we're not having any significant stuttering issues or anything like that. Obviously, there is the slight online element where you do have people, you know, dropping in and out, so there may be ping and lag issues and things like that, but I can't say I've really noticed it. But this is still with only essentially a handful of people playing, so it is only currently reviewers, streamers, YouTubers that are playing. Once the game is released, we will see an influx of players, and we'll have to see how their servers handle this and all that kind of thing. And once again, moving on to 1080p footage, again, we're at somewhere between 50 and 60%, but no difference in the frame rate. But as I said, I normally stream at 1080 in windowed mode, and I've not noticed any particular difference even streaming. Obviously, I'm not running it with a frame counter or anything like that, so I wouldn't notice any minor drops in frames, but I would, you know, notice anything major, and I can't say I have in what, the 2-3 hours I've spent in game so far. And then finally, once again, the 720p footage, again, we're hanging around that 30-35% mark on the GPU. Obviously, I'm not going to be playing at 720p. I mean, I don't even think people playing on the PS4 will be playing at 720p, but there may be tweaks and things like that that console users will prefer to get the frames as opposed to the higher resolution. I don't know. But yes, you'll get 60 frames per second on a, I'd say, mid to high-end PC. Obviously, as I said, my rig is pretty chunky, but it's certainly not bleeding edge. You don't need, you know, a couple of Titan X's or anything in your rig to run this. I think with, you know, a decent 900 series or, you know, the lower 1000 series graphics cards from Nvidia, and I'm not sure how it will run on the AMD cards, but as with all PC gaming, your mileage may vary depending on your rig. But this is, as I said, on my rig, I'm getting solid 60s, even on this preview build. I did expect it would go up once the game comes out. And I did promise I would show you what it's like at nearly 4K. So this is it at, you know, I will check, I think it's like 36 something or other. And you can see it's basically using the whole of my graphics card. We're hitting 99% a lot of the time, hitting 70 degrees. And we're at about 40 frames per second. So a casual gamer will maybe be satisfied with that. But, you know, once you've been playing at 60, you really don't want to go down. And this is slightly further area. This is the crazy slopey area. Again, you can see it's 40 and dropping down to maybe 35. But yeah, this is it at its kind of highest resolutions. Unless you're playing on a really chunky rig, or I don't know, maybe this will get up to that kind of speed on a PS4 Pro, but I doubt it. But yes, there you go. As I said, I will be looking at the release version to see if there are any major improvements and things like that, and as I've said before, I will be playing more of this game both here on YouTube and on streams. So if you want to check that out, obviously you can subscribe and follow us here on YouTube at The Kilobits, over at Twitch at twitch.tv/The Kilobits, and you can always reach us on any of the socials at The Kilobits. Alright, until next time guys, I hope this has been of help to you, and I will catch you later. Alright, bye!